Welcome to Life, Lafter Divorce Podcast, episode 77. I am your host, Leanne Linsky.
And I'm the boyfriend.
Welcome back to yet another wonderful week of divorce.
They keep coming.
You're welcome. Hey, while you're out there tuning in, make sure you rate, review, and subscribe. And while you're at it, check out the website at lifelafterdivorce.com. We have great treats for you and self-care on the retail therapy store.
Soaps and candles.
That's right. All natural with essential oils make you smell good and feel better.
And Coach Leanne still has her free session.
That's
free coaching
right.
Session
I have my free ready to launch session. So you want to make sure you sign up for your free coaching session before August 4th. That's right. I'm doing my free coaching session challenge with myself.
We share a calendar, and all I see are these coaching sessions day and night all over my calendar right now.
So I want to share a life-changing conversation with you. So I really hope that you take a moment and sign up and take care of yourself, which is a perfect segue in today's episode because it's all about taking care of yourself, boyfriend.
Yeah, we try, don't we?
We try. We've actually been doing a lot better lately with our schedule change. And we've been...
Yes, we have. I would say that.
We've been going to do yoga together.
Yes, the boyfriend does yoga.
Shh.
Don't tell my mom.
Right. Well, it's kind of funny because at first I was skeptical of I don't know if he's going to want to do yoga. In fact, I hadn't had a real interest in it in the past. I'm like, it's too slow for me. And now I'm like, oh, thank God it's slow. I'm so grateful I'm not doing, high impact something every day of the week.
Sunday we went and she was just like, we didn't have to do any downward dog or anything. And it was so great to sit there and just stretch out my back and my arms. I'm like, come on, we should have done a little more.
No, what was fascinating, it was really hot. It was 90 degrees the other day when we were there.
90,
it was 90 degrees. The last thing I wanted to do was go upside down in any sort of downward dog because I was sweating. But it felt so good. And it was weird because even though it didn't seem like if you were to tell someone, so we did this stretch and we did this stretch, it was a lot, right? Like the smallest.
You feel it.
Yeah.
You may not feel it during the actual time when you're in yoga, but I end up feeling it a couple hours and maybe even the day after. Because to maintain the positions and to do the stretches, it takes a little work.
Yeah. It's kind of like, okay, so I'm just holding my arms out. Man, how long are we holding our arms out? Fast forward, cut to. Seriously, they're still out? But I find it so relaxing. And like I said, I was really like, I don't know if he's going to be into this. And then you were like, yeah, I'll give it a whirl. And then we both walked away from that first yoga class and we were both like, hey, that was pretty awesome.
You know what, though? It's not only the stretching, it's the breathing. Like people breathe every day, but
God, I hope so.
I hope so too. But it's not the same as yoga breathing. And that sounds weird. Yes, the boyfriend's being weird right now. But it just training yourself to breathe differently and to be really aware of how you're breathing and do the movements at the same time that you're breathing or with your breaths is, I don't know. I can't even describe how it makes it. It's a relaxing,
very relaxing,
centered sort of motion.
Yeah, and it's weird because when we have the yoga teachers, they're talking us through it and guiding us through the movements and the breathing. And it's interesting because they're like, "Has your mind wandered off?" And it's like, "How did you know?" Of course it did. And they're like, "Bring it back and pay attention to your breathing." And it's pretty interesting because they're really good. So the boyfriend and I, we happen to go to a yoga class that's on the bluff overlooking the ocean.
Yeah, we're a little spoiled. Sorry.
We're very spoiled. They offer it for free here in Long Beach, and about 200 people show up for it, and it's every day.
Every day during the summers, and they have a different schedule during the
winter.
So-called
So
winter.
yeah, it's like every day, and then and Monday through Friday, it's actually twice a day, which is quite remarkable. But I used to drive by and I'm like, look at all those people doing yoga. Why aren't I doing anything? Well,
it's funny because we get people driving by when we're out there and they're honking and playing music and things.
And commenting, and it's kind of like, really too bad for you. We're good. But it's actually interesting because we're really focusing on making sure we take care of ourselves during stressful times and busy times. And good times. Like it's hard to maintain that consistency when life happens, but it feels so good when we do. And we're always like, why aren't we doing this more?
Yeah, it's only an hour and a half a day. We should be doing it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially to keep stress down, which is exactly why I'm excited about today's guest, because it's all about self-care during stressful times. And as divorcees, we're pretty familiar with what stressful times are. Today, we have our friend, Dr. Patricia May. Dr. May is a licensed chiropractor and radiologic technologist in the state of California. She is an experienced practitioner of both acupressure relief technique and neurofeedback. Dr. May has over 30 years of experience treating and educating patients and postgraduate students in the areas of natural health care. She has a passion for helping others to maintain and regain their health through natural medicine. She believes that information and education are the keys to achieving optimum health. Through the use of a wide range of therapeutic modalities, including structural alignment, nutrition, acupressure allergy relief, and lifestyle modifications, she is able to achieve optimal healthcare for her patients. Dr. May focuses on normalizing the underlying physiology and restoring healthy function through nutrition and lifestyle changes. Oftentimes, people feel sick, but their symptoms are undistinguishable. In many cases, this means they don't receive treatment. However, this is just the beginning for Dr. May's patients. She works with patients to discover the dysfunctional behaviors that lead to their symptoms, then develop strategies to correct these habits. So without further ado, Dr. Patricia May. Welcome to Life, Lafter Divorce Podcast, Dr. May.
Hello.
Hello. So good to be here. And the boyfriend is here.
Hello.
This is an in-person moment on the pod. So
no
this
more
is,
Skypey things.
right? Those are so, this is so nice to have people like in the flesh.
Look me in the eye.
Right? Not too much. That would be creepy. So this is great because I have known Dr. May for some time as boyfriend. Well, boyfriend, we both have for quite how long have we known?
You've known her longer than you've known me.
Yes, that's true.
That is right. I'm before the boyfriend.
Yes, yeah. I was introduced to Dr. May from Leanne after one of your shows. We went and had drinks afterwards.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we know you well.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Well.
Don't tell my secrets.
And I was talking to Dr. May about stress, because that's been one of my topics as of late, is dealing with high stress situations and knowing that our listeners oftentimes are in the midst of divorce or prepping or considering a divorce, or even afterward find themselves in high stress life. I don't know. It's not
lifey things.
Nice life. Just over
moving,
a period
changing
of time.
jobs. Anything's lifey. Yeah, it's just stressful.
That's right. You don't have the corner on stress.
No, I don't. But I've passed through several times
I've been
a
there
day.
with you.
So what we're wondering, and we're going to be talking about this afternoon, obviously, is, how do we deal with that stress as we,
Is there a way to deal with stress?
If there is, no one has told me.
Me neither. It's just like, go to sleep, go rest, do something.
Were you about to say go have a drink?
I was, but I took that back. Took it back.
Sorry, I gotta acknowledge that.
There are a lot of people that deal with stress that way.
Yeah. So, but I didn't know there was there's got to be skills. Someone's got to be able to provide skills for stress, right?
And that's where I come in. Or at least I am one of the people in the big picture of stress.
Yeah. And when people come to you, what are you finding? Are they like burnt out or?
Stress affects you in a lot of different ways. I mean, you can come in burnt out, or you can be so hyper. You can't, I haven't been sleeping. There's a lot of anxiety going on. I can't get to sleep. I can't stay to sleep. Or you get the people that come in and say, I can't, I just have no energy. I can't get up off this couch. I just want to go to bed all the time. A lot of different presentations of stress.
Yeah. So when people come in, you're a functional doctor. So I guess maybe start by telling, not everybody knows what a functional health is.
Functional medicine.
Yeah.
What is it? Yeah, functional medicine is awesome because as a functional practitioner, you look at the body and the way that it functions. So you don't just, go to a specialist for I'm going to go to the cardiologist or I'm going to go to the neurologist. Functional medicine does not take the body apart. It looks at it as a whole, and each part of the body does function together. You need one thing to produce chemicals to keep going with the normal function, everyday health. I mean, for health, your body has to function like a car. If you put the wrong gas in your car, you're going to, sputter down the highway. If you put high octane in it, it's going to go smooth. Mm-hmm. You got to change the oil in your car. You've got to change your spark plugs. Well, that's just tuning up. But with our body, our tune-up is the way that we treat it. Are we getting the proper sleep? Are we eating properly? The way that I look at it is, are you not only eating properly, but are you digesting and are you absorbing the nutrients that you're breaking down in your body?
Well, hold on. So just because So just because I eat something doesn't mean my body's actually taking advantage of what I put in there?
You've got that right.
Wow. How does that work?
Well, you know what? There's different ways that when you put something in your mouth, you start the digestive process. And so you want the digestive juices in your stomach to start. You've got your pancreas, your gallbladder, your liver, and the acid in your stomach. So if you're eating a protein and you're not producing hydrochloric acid, it's not going to break that piece of steak or that chicken down so that when it goes into the small intestine where everything is absorbed, it's not going to have enough surface area and enough breakdown for all of the good bacteria to work on that and then send it into the bloodstream.
So then basically you put it in your system and then it comes out of your system and you don't get any of the benefit of it.
Correct.
Wow.
So like all of those chocolate chip cookies, there's just, it's in, it's out.
Well, that's you. I'm trying to eat healthy in my life. So if I'm not digesting it properly, then I'm not getting the benefit of it.
Right.
That's
so
correct.
all of the salads we eat, if we're not digesting it, it's kind of a moot point. Right.
Well, at least you're on the right track. But
you want to maximize the effort at the body. You want to maximize how the body takes in that. Because if you're only getting half of the nutrients, then that's not good. You want to get you want to get as many of the nutrients from what you're eating to make you feel better, right?
That's correct. And the best way to do it is to make sure that everything is functioning correctly. And like I say, it starts at the mouth, but it ends at the buttocks. Everything that goes in does come out eventually. But that's another thing. How's the transit time? That will also tell you how you're digesting.
How's the commute?
Yeah.
Is that what we're looking at?
So you want long commutes or short commutes?
Well, you don't want too long. You don't want too short.
Okay.
Just right. Like Goldilocks.
Right. Yeah.
They're just right. So, all right. So let's back up a second because you guys can probably be really techie with the science stuff. And then there's me, right? And I'm looking at okay, so I'm really stressed out and I'm going through a rough time. And I just know that I don't feel well, but I may not, you, obviously, Dr. May, have a complete and thorough understanding of how the body works and how it processes it. Easy for me to say, but
how it functions. Yes.
Yeah. And how it functions. And you, as you say, you look at the body as a whole. And so if I were to come to you and I'm having some issues, where do we even start? Because if I can't really stress is general and maybe it's affecting me in several different ways.
Well, that's true. But stress starts way back when you're born. Because our body adapts to...
you know my family?
I do. I know everybody's family now. No, when you're born, your immune system, you have to talk about immunity. Immune system is when there's two types. There's the innate and there's the acquired. Your innate is what you basically get from your mother in your womb, and your acquired is what comes from when you're being born. So all of the bacteria and all of the good bugs that, as you're coming through the vaginal canal, you grab from your mom, so that when you come out into the world, you can already have some immunity to the fact that once the grandma comes over and kisses you on the forehead, the baby's not going to get sick. So it starts there, and then let's go fast forward. But in terms of the stress part of it, it also, the immune system is part of an adaptive way of dealing with stress, because when you are under a lot of stress, you're going to put a lot of stress on the immune system, and then people get sick. So,
I've heard of that. So when people are under stress, they get sick more often, or are more likely to get sick.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because your immune system is having to take care of other things that are going on in the body other than what it's really ideally set up for. So it's having to help correct some of the things that your adrenals and your thyroid, all of your endocrine system, all the hormones that are going on, if they're not acting at a full range, like I say, if you're not putting high octane fuel into the tank, you're not going to get performance out of the engine. Well, it's kind of with the body. So if the body's endocrine system isn't working functionally correct, then you're not going to get all of the energy that you need. And energy is decreased usually with stress, or as I was talking about, depending on each person is a little different, but most of the time you tend to overtax your cortisol levels, your thyroid reacts. So there's a lot of different ways of looking at this. It's a broad, it's not just across the board. I can't just say this does this or that does that to correct this. It is a functional thing where we have to look at everything.
So stepping back, if I can decrease my stress or manage the stress in a different way, I can potentially have more energy and be healthier as I go through.
Right. Stress is a big one. If you can, there's in functional medicine, we look at the pillars, and the pillars of health are you having enough fun in your life?
I ask that every day. Am I?
Are you taking time to be centered? Whether that be a meditation and spiritual thing, are you doing a yoga or, anything that is going to be centered to you? You need to take time for yourself. Let everybody else do their own thing, but hey, take care of yourself, because if you don't, you're not going to function. You're going to get sick, and you're not going to solve any of the problems. So,
but that's not medicine. To me, I'm not taking medications. I'm not changing. You may have to change your diet a little bit, and we'll get into that. But you're just saying, take care of me by spending time for me. Take time for me. So
that
read a book,
medicine.
have a little fun. Well, it's weird. We don't think of it that way.
No.
We're in this society. It's work, and
those things. Yeah, those things are a luxury, right?
Yeah, but take a look around you. How many people are healthy right now?
Oh,
right.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to review is, the first part was where, what we're talking about now is self-care. So like spiritual, like where we actually relax. So before, if you would have asked me, what do I do to take time out to myself? It'd be like kickboxing class or, go run or, go to a party.
That's part of the pillars. You got to have exercise, sleep.
Yeah.
All of the pillars are basically taking care of yourself.
Right.
Without having to deal with other people. I mean, you need to be this is where it's good to be selfish.
I like that.
So the pillars of, let's call them pillars of selfishness.
There you go.
So like the first one is having fun. And that would be like going out with friends and maybe taking a trip or
reading a book on your own, taking some time for yourself.
So sitting down and reading a book is great, because now you're doing two things. You're putting your body in a nice relaxed state, and you're taking your mind someplace else other than, oh my God, I've got that deadline to meet. I've got to call this person. I mean, all of those things add up to stress. Or, oh, he left me and I don't know what to do anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the obsession.
Right, so what's the second pillar then?
Well, there's the have fun. You want to exercise.
Okay.
You want to have a spiritual side, something that it's basically your what your self-worth is. What do you care about within yourself?
So spiritual is the second pillar. So have fun is the first.
Yeah, I mean, they're not like in any order, like 1, 2, 3. It's, they're just basically, think about a house. When you build a house, you have to have the foundation.
Yeah.
So you need the foundation, the pillars of the foundation. So if you don't have a good foundation in your health, which is having fun, being self-centered, so to speak, getting plenty of sleep, that's a really
What's
important
that?
one.
Yeah.
Exercise and getting the proper light. You need light just to even function as well. I mean, if you live in the dark all the time, you're not going to be healthy.
Right. And that's figuratively and literally. So
well, that's fascinating because again, in today's society, we're both working professionals and we're trying to manage everything and we don't have time. I read all the time for work, but I haven't read a book for enjoyment in I don't know how long. And
so you're not being selfish enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I am not.
Shh, don't tell him that.
I'm looking at Leanne right now being like, all right, no more time for you. I'm going to take time for me.
Yeah, and it's funny because I haven't read a book since I left New York. I mean, I've read a couple of books since, but nothing in my mind. I'm like, it may as well have been nothing because I used to read a book a week. You know, riding on the subway, I took that out as me time. But it's really hard to read a book and drive a car.
But you know, that's a great thing that you just said there in terms of you used to read a book on a subway. And so you've got all these people and all of this going around. And what did you do? You actually separated yourself from it. So that was taking yourself out of that stressful situation. And here I am relaxed. Mm-hmm. So something as simple as that makes a big difference.
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
So do you write me a prescription of selfishness? How does this work?
Yeah, I have my little pad here. We'll say that boyfriend gets to be selfish.
Yes,
only when it comes to the foundation of health here.
Yeah. So, but if someone comes to you with a bunch of stress and they want to know how to correct some of these issues because they're not eating right, they're having trouble to digest, they're having just all the issues with stress. What do you do? How do you help them?
Well, in the functional medicine, I mean, first of all, we got to find out where did it all start from. So you have to take I spend like an hour and a half on my initial visit with everybody because I have to take an intense history. So I start from the beginning until now because you look for patterns to see where the railroad tracks go off. And then that's where you start putting them back together there in terms of, putting all of these issues in perspective. Because remember that if something goes wrong in the body, it's going to affect another body system. So we have to find out where it started going wrong to begin with and fix it. And most of the time it tends to be in the gut because the gut is where 80% of your immune system is. The gut is your second brain. It produces the dopamine, the serotonin, the neurotransmitters. So think about it. Serotonin is going to make you feel better. If you're not producing that, if there's a problem within your gut, you're going to have problems with concentration as well as just I'm not feeling good. So depression can be part of it. The looking through the where the research is coming out right now is they're fixing the gut to heal Alzheimer's. They're using it for attention deficit. They're using it for multiple myeloma. It's amazing. So the gut is the place to really start.
So even though a lot of people come in with various symptoms identified with other things, maybe it's depression or maybe it's new. Like when I had met you, I had food allergies and things like that. And so,
because those are just symptoms,
right? They're not the final thing.
They're not the cause. They're saying it's your body saying, "Hey, wake up! Come help me! I need some help here."
Right. And so, what sets you apart, and that I found from my experience with you, is that you don't Band-Aid things. You don't say, "Okay, this is your problem. I'm giving it a title." And then you go and you take this the rest of your life, or you do this. Instead, we were like, okay, that's actually a symptom. What's the real issue at hand? And that's when you kind of go deep into your gut. You listen to your gut,
listen
Dr.
to your
May.
gut.
But you follow the gut, and maybe that's where it's like follow your gut comes from.
Right. Well, and it's always the brain part is, I felt it in my gut. I just have this feeling in my gut. There's a lot of life in your gut. There's these trillions of bacteria that live in there that they all have these little soldiers, I like to call them, because they have their own little job and they go in there and they do different things, to clean the lining of your intestines, to break down the food into all of its micronutrients so that they can be absorbed in the body. So if there's something going wrong in the gut, you're going to have symptoms elsewhere also. But it's not just the gut, because you get the micronutrients you need for the rest of the body to function. Then you get the other systems, the endocrine system, which we were talking earlier about stress, that's where it shows up the most in people that are stressed out, is that they usually have an imbalance within their endocrine system. So their hormones go off. I mean, I get women that come in and it's like, I am having such hot flashes. I can't sleep at night. I'm, waking up and I'm in a pool of sweat.
I have no idea what that means.
Neither do I.
I thought you'd relate to that. Yeah. So, and men have their own issues as well. I know if you have low testosterone.
We have no issues.
Oh, you have issues. You have me.
True.
Sometimes it can be something as much as, raging, or something as much as I just don't feel like doing anything anymore. My libido's gone. So there's
so the same root issues can show up as different symptoms in both men and women.
Right.
Yeah. So we tend to act a little differently or have different symptoms than you would, but it still gets down to how to manage what our body is doing on a chemical level.
Correct. It's all on a chemical level, and it's all about balance. Everything has to be balanced out.
It should be. We try to balance our lives, which we can't do, but our bodies need to be balanced, and that helps us. How does that help us?
How does that help us? Well, it gives you a more robust, abundant life.
True, because if we're processing food better and have less
you're going to have more energy.
Yeah.
Your skin's going to be good. Your thinking's going to be better. It's going to affect all of you.
So you just told me that you spend an hour and a half or longer, basically data collection, trying
Correct.
to figure out what's going on. What are these root causes? How do you, once you narrow it down, how do you address these issues to help these individuals get better and improve their balance?
Well, the first thing I like to do is obviously, we're going to address the diet and the pillars that we talked about.
Diet?
Diet.
That's a scary word for a lot of people.
I know. And I really don't like to call it a diet. But people relate to that word, but it is a way of life. It's changing your living style. You can't eat the processed foods.
I can't have pizza and burgers every night?
No, I'm afraid not. That stuff will just wreak havoc with you. So get the sugars out, get the processed foods out. I remember that when we first were put on this planet here, we were hunter and gatherers, and we had to go and forage for our own food. So we ate a lot of greens. We ate a lot of tubers. We, picked berries. We hunted for our meat. So it's not like we had a lot of meat to eat. So when we would eat it when we could, but we were eating a lot of greens, like I said. And, our whole microbiome back then, I'm sure, was much healthier.
Right. Well, what I find fascinating now is talking to so many people, over the years. And because, years ago, I changed a lot of my eating habits and started eating much healthier. And I joined a gym and have been working out on a regular basis and things. And it's interesting because as I went through and changed that process in my own life, it was amazing because although I wasn't telling anybody else what to do, it affected other people, and people would question it. And people would be like, well, why don't you just eat this? What's your problem? Why can't you just eat that? And it's awkward at first, and it's really hard to set boundaries until I felt more comfortable in this new way to keep it up, because oftentimes it's easier, instead of to have to explain myself or argue with somebody about what's best for me, it's easier to just be compliant and go along.
That's
with
right.
somebody.
The resistance that you get.
Right.
Which is interesting because, when I find resistance, I mean, it's just a matter of looking at it and going, well, this is my lifestyle. And, I feel that I'm healthy. How are you doing?
Yeah. Right. And it takes a while to get to that place because some people will be like, well, everybody thinks they're an expert on what's best for you.
Everybody's got advice.
Everybody has advice. You should do this or you should do that. And it takes practice and being comfortable what works for me. But what I do notice is a lot of people who think they're eating healthy are eating healthy based on marketing from large companies. And
don't get me started.
Yeah. And I think there's like a misconception of what's healthy and what's not.
Well, a lot of that's still processed.
Yeah.
Which is not great for you, right?
No, exactly. Well, I do have to mention this. There's a new thing coming out with the World Health Organization, and they're wanted to make a statement that formula is not good for babies. For children, babies. That breast milk is the healthiest, and for some reason, in the United States, I guess the corporations here and the people that have the formulas are fighting back. But if we look back, I'm an older kind of girl here. So when I look back at my high school pictures and I look at the high school people now, that are graduating, it's like they are so completely different looking. I mean, the boys did not have beards. The women, were just starting to develop.
Yeah.
And now you look at them and you can't tell whether they're, an adult or a 16-year-old because the boys have full facial hair and all.
Girls are fully developed at 12.
Fully developed, yes. And so where do you think that happened? Why? I mean, you think that it just changed because of what? The years have gone by? No, it's changed because of our food supply. Now when you buy meat, if you're not buying grass-fed, non-GMO, non-hormone, no RBGH, you're getting a lot of antibiotics. You're getting a lot of antibiotics, exactly. Well, and the thing is the reason why they give them antibiotics is because they give them hormones. The hormones, they want to fatten them up. And when they give them hormones, then they start getting infections. And so then when they get infections, they give them the antibiotics. And that's the other thing is like, look at the rise in antibiotic-resistant antibiotics now. It's just... MRSA was not a common thing back in the 70s, 80s, but now it is. People walk down the street, they have MRSA.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was that bad.
It is bad.
But all of if you're feeding this to our food supply, that eventually gets, I don't know what the best word to use here, but it's inside the meat. And then the meat that we eat contains those antibiotics and those hormones.
Exactly.
Then that gets into our system. And then that does have an effect on us.
Right. And that's where I think that, the facial hair and the growth of the more mature women or girls, it's changing so much. And it's not just that, but it's affecting how our health is. I mean, it's not healthy to be on antibiotics.
No.
If you're not sick.
Right.
And if we're eating them on a daily basis, then what's it doing to our insides?
Right.
Yeah. And the other, thing about this whole eating right, and I feel like when we're under stress, we do one of two things. We either overeat for comfort or we undereat because our stomach's in knots and we're just losing that appetite. And so I feel as like when I go through periods of stress, I've been in both situations where I'm like craving, things that I shouldn't, and you want that Haagen-Dazs or you want those peanut butter pretzels, which are killer from Trader Joe's.
Who doesn't want to eat junk food?
But things like that, when we do that and we're already stressed and then we feed it these things that probably aren't the best choices in the first place. I mean, it's going to happen. Nobody's perfect. But if we continue on that path, what does that do to our stress levels? What does that do?
It's just going to increase them. You're not, when you're eating foods that have pesticides, when you have sugar, especially sugar and wheat, milk, the dairy products, all of those are really not good for, think about dairy for one thing is that any other animal is weaned off from milk, we as a population tend to keep drinking it. So what it's going to do is it's going to continue to stress you out, and you're stress out not just your endocrine system, but again, it's going to affect your digestive system. We got to go back to that digestive system. There's a thing called leaky gut, and that it sounds as bad as it is too. You've got the context of your intestines that are leaking into your bloodstream.
Yeah. That sounds terrible.
That sounds
I know, isn't it? So all the stuff that we're supposed to be pooping out is, those bad big proteins that are supposed to be excreted are going into our blood system.
And that's bad because that's chemicals that shouldn't be in our blood system.
Well, yeah. And then what happens is the immune system sees that and goes, hey, you're not supposed to be here. I'm going to, fight you off. So you get that inflammatory. It's like, okay, I sprained my ankle and it's going to swell, right? Because that's a good thing about the immune system. It goes down and it takes care of that injury. So it's going to do that. It goes down, takes care of the injury that it's in the bloodstream. And if it continues to leak and it's not fixed, then what happens with the immune system is that it can't turn off because it keeps fighting it and it doesn't know when to stop. That, okay, this isn't, getting any better, so I'm going to keep fighting it. And then you get autoimmune diseases.
Because you're kind of overworking your immune system.
Your immune system's on hyperdrive.
Stress is bad.
Yeah.
That's what I'm learning here.
This is not good. I need to calm down. Yikes.
Yeah, get that book out.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's say we're in the situation where we're stressed, we're overeating, and this is start to happen, and we get this leaky gut. At the same time, what about the times where I get really stressed? 'Cause I don't know about you guys, but I always see people go through a breakup and all of a sudden someone drops a ton of weight from the stress, after divorce. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, that's not so good either.
Right.
Because, if you're not eating, you're going to start eating your muscle up. I mean, the body is going to, take care of itself and it's going to get what it needs wherever it needs. And if you're not eating correctly, you can have heart problems because the heart is a muscle. So, it's going to get the protein wherever it can get it.
Right. Okay. So even though you're losing weight and feeling better about yourself, you're not doing yourself any service.
You're only feeling better about yourself because of what you look like, not because of how you feel.
Right.
Well, hopefully they're getting positive reinforcement then, but
yeah.
But it's not a healthy thing, no. I
Yeah.
mean, unless they're doing it in a healthy way. I mean, that's, living a healthy lifestyle.
Right. Right. Well, when it comes to things like, I know you mentioned earlier, so when people come in and you're kind of looking at the whole body, you mentioned a test that you do called the Dutch test, and that checks their stress levels and hormones.
Well, the Dutch test is a great test for the hormone, the endocrine system. So it'll test all of the hormones and the cortisol levels. It also they've incorporated some amino acid tests, which amino acids are, our building blocks. So that's one test. I have to, when a person comes into me and I do my history taking, then I'm going to look at, okay, where is it that everything went awry, and find out if it was something that happened within the gut, say that they're constipated all the time. Okay, well, what's constipation? It can be anything from that you've got so much stress that, your adrenals aren't working or your thyroid's not working. Or it could be something about the bacteria in your gut has been overgrown by the bad bacteria. And that's where you get SIBO. It's a small bowel overgrowth. Or are your digestive enzymes right? We talked about that earlier. Are you digesting the foods in your stomach? Are they breaking down properly? Do you have the amylase for your carbohydrates to digest? So there's different ways of looking at it. So there's different testing. So there's another test that I will take for, there's a stool test or a urine test or a blood test. So it depends on what your problem is. Functional medicine, it is going to be for you. It's not a
it's not a cookie cutter.
It's not
no,
exactly.
That's good.
Yeah. So basically when people come to you, to set their expectations correctly it's not going to be like you have X and you got to go to the pharmacy, get Y, and you're good. Call me in a week if things sometimes continue. What you do is you work with long-term health.
Normally when somebody comes into me, this is the unfortunate part. It is, I've been to everybody else and nobody's helping me, and I've had this for years and years and years. So it's one of those things that it's been such a buildup of different things. You get these, it's kind of like the building blocks. I've got this problem and I never got taken care of. So now I've got a problem here and it just keeps multiplying. So we have to, like I say, it's like taking an onion and peeling back the layers and getting to where the root is. Yeah. What's causing all of these problems?
So it's a process.
It's a process. So it takes time. It's not going to be, come on in. I'm going to give you this supplement and you're going to feel better in 3 weeks. And, bye, go on with your daily life.
So that gets to my next question. So you're not going to give them some weird medication that no one knows the actual name of, because again, that's not, from what you've already told us, that's not basically where we come from. We come from this very simple diet and simple way of living before this food processing, all this stuff happened in the past 100 years. So what things do you prescribe for somebody? Is it prescribe the right word, or what do you recommend for people?
Well, I recommend, obviously a diet change is the first recommendation.
Okay. So something that can be managed by yourself, but not having to buy something to chemicals to put inside of you. Yeah. And,
if there is a decrease, in some type of function, like say you need more HCl, there are herbs that I would prescribe that help, and also the diet in terms of that, when we eat bitter greens like dandelion greens or arugula, things that have that bitter taste, those are really, really good for you because it starts the digestive process. It tells it sends out a message that open up the doors for that HCl to be produced, so that when I start eating my piece of fish or my chicken, that I can break that down, because we need hydrochloric acid to break down the meat proteins. So.
And that's why people like bitters after a hard night of drinking, right? Because it soothes their stomach. It soothes
their stomach, yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's the other thing is that, people will come in and they're on proton pump inhibitors. So, anything that's going to, like if they come in and say, oh, I've had GERD for a while and I've been on these proton pump inhibitors, which are like Prilosec, those, so that it stops the burning. Well, those are like so counterintuitive to what they really need. Normally, if you have GERD, it's usually because you don't have enough acid in your stomach. And when you don't have enough acid in your stomach, there's a sphincter, it goes up into the esophagus that relaxes, and that's where the acid starts coming up in through. And that's why you get that heartburn feeling. But if you have enough acid, that sphincter stays tight, so you don't get it going up inside.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I've read before that persons with certain like type 2 diabetes, if they actually ate better and exercise, they could probably get off some medication. So what you're saying is that nutrition, if we just ate better and we're very conscious of what we ate, we could probably eliminate a lot of the problems we have.
Exactly. There are, people that have come in that, have diabetics that have been diabetics for a long time that, once they follow the program, get back eating correctly and get a healthy lifestyle, they go back to their doctors and the doctors are like, oh, you don't need to take this insulin anymore.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
our body,
but
the body is amazing. It's because if you give it what it needs, it will heal itself. Mm-hmm. It's totally remarkable that we can do what we can do.
Well, we've lasted this long, so
yes, we adapt, right?
Yeah, our bodies have to adapt. Right. It's interesting on how modern medicine may not take advantage of that, of our body taking care of itself or adapting as well as it can.
Yeah, the United States tends to be, you go into a specialist and everybody looks at just one part of your body. I mean, it has gotten, and believe me, we need that type of care also. I mean, if, you've got cancer, there's a reason for you to have, that you've got cancer and you've got to take care of it. You may need surgery. You may need chemotherapy, not something that, I would hope anybody would have to go on. So that's why if you live in a healthy lifestyle, eating great, then, more or less your genes are not going, your DNA is not going to fall into that. You're not going to have and the expression of the diabetic gene, or you're not going to have that cancer gene come up. as often. I can't say nothing. Nothing in the world is always or never, right?
Right.
But you can read it. But there's studies out there that show if you have a better diet, you reduce the chances of having of these other ailments affecting you.
True. And I know firsthand because I had food allergies when I met you.
That's right.
And I couldn't eat anything with any soy in it, any soy whatsoever, which is virtually everything that's processed.
Yes.
Most everything that is processed has some form of soy in it. If you look at the back of any package, like I was like, oh, soy sauce, I'm good, right? Like soybean, no tofu, good. Knock those two things out of my diet, I'm fine. But then as I quickly learned, no. Soybean oil, soy lecithin, soy anything is in so many things.
It is.
That even the smallest amount over time started to affect my body.
And the thing is that soy is not soy that is the bad thing. It's just that most soy right now is like 90% of the soy in the United States is GMO. Same thing with corn. I won't eat corn or soy or anything like that unless it is a non-GMO, organic.
Right. And so the thing about this that I found fascinating was, okay, so soy is everywhere and there's good things. Non-GMO is definitely better. But when I came to you and you're like, oh, I work with people, that's how I found you, is you work with people with food allergies. And it's like, okay, so what do I have to do to fix this? But that ended up being a process.
Yes.
And it wasn't an extremely painful or long process. It was really it just made so much sense. And the fact that it took maybe 2 months and then I could eat anything again. Not that I should continue eating anything as I learned, because that's a slippery slope. But I could have that in moderation, and I haven't had any problems since.
Well, that is one of the things in terms of what I do, and my specialty is the allergy relief part of it. Is that I come in and I will test you. I do a muscle testing, and we can find out exactly what you're allergic to. I can do a acupressure technology that will take the allergens, kind of clear you of the allergen response, so that when you do come in contact with it again, your body is not going to respond to it in a negative way. And it does take a while. Obviously, we have to train ourselves to eat correctly and stay away from it for a while. But that's the great thing about it, is that your body wants to get better. It will change. It will heal itself.
Yeah. It was pretty remarkable because like you said, you're not just going to prescribe something to somebody. You're going to kind of guide them and coach them through a process of like, here's how to reset. Here's how to do a reset on your body so that, it's like taking your car in and getting that 200,000 mile tune-up.
Right.
It's like, here's how you reset everything.
Are you on 200,000 miles now?
God, I hope not. But sometimes it feels like it, boyfriend. Maybe it's time to trade me in. But yeah, that's what it is. And so that's what I thought was fascinating about coming to you, because so many people you would go and they try to like Band-Aid it with something and be like, here, try this or try that. And then you're experimenting with things that you're putting into your body that you don't even know what they are. Whereas this was kind of like step back and it's a lifestyle change of sorts.
Well, and it's an education too.
Yeah.
Along the way, I'd like to educate my patients in terms of what it is that, make the choice yourself. I'm not your mother. I'm not your father. I'm just here to educate you, and you can make your own choice. But here are here are the reasons why you shouldn't take this, and these are the reasons why you should eat this.
Yeah. So. And it's like miracle, like
you made the changes and you've seen the benefits.
Absolutely.
So that's the proof. That's why this is why everyone should at least examine what they put into themselves and understand the stresses that they're under and try to improve the way their body actually can heal itself.
Yeah.
And you're trying to provide them with a guide. You're like a guide.
I am.
Yeah.
A Sherpa.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't lift a lot, but I can educate.
But the other cool thing about it is like the other thing, a valuable lesson that I've learned is, so back then I reset, I found like, oh my God, I can, eat again. I'm somewhat normal, but I still want to stay healthy. And then all of a sudden, if I go off that slippery slope, guess what?
it happens
again, or other symptoms arise, or, sometimes you get going and you get in a routine and you're like, okay, I'm good. I'm always able to eat healthy. I'm mindful of it. But if life happens and other situations come up and suddenly we find ourselves like, this isn't as easy as it's been.
Yeah. Then you get into that stressful situation again.
And it cycles all over again. So
but you are now more educated and you've been able to do your own self-reset to help.
Right.
Or have a little bit of guidance from Dr. May to help you get reset.
There you go. See, sometimes you need that support and guidance.
Absolutely. Because you think, okay, I've got this, but maybe am I missing something? And sometimes it just, having someone there to kind of guide you and coach you back into place, I think is so key. And the education part is huge because having a better understanding versus just, it's like if I had a car and I didn't know what kind of gas or that it needed gas or the oil changed periodically, I would run that thing to the ground, but same with the body. I need to know how it works. I need to put it in so that it runs well and we're good.
Yeah. And it's also, in terms of coming back, what happens, I think that we get into our life and we get blinders on, so to speak, sometimes. And I'll have people come back and they're like, I'm not sure. Why am I not feeling good again? I'm eating right, And it's like, again, going through, doing the history. Okay, what happened? What's changed? And it's it could be something very simple that, I'm using a new shampoo or I'm using those, I changed my detergent and now I've got all of these other problems that are going on. So, it's kind of like diving in and getting into exactly what changes have happened in their life because environmental is a big one too. Right.
This is so helpful. And I'm glad that we have you because you make sense of things. Whereas you go other places and people, a lot of times you see people and they're on a time schedule and they have so many minutes.
See a doctor for 20 minutes, A, B, C, take this and call me in the morning.
Exactly.
And you don't know, you didn't learn anything from it. And you're putting a Band-Aid on it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily actually help you as a person. Whereas the information that you've provided and the work that you've done with Leanne, I actually see the benefit.
Yeah.
So it's amazing.
Yeah. It's pretty remarkable. So it's pretty awesome. So our listeners out there, if you're going through stress and you're going through and you're finding symptoms in your body and you're not sure where it's coming from and you feel like you're just Band-Aiding it and it's, an ongoing, it's no longer just a cycle in and out. It's an ongoing thing. We're going to put Dr. May's contact information in our show notes. You even do things over the internet now?
Sure. Why not? No, everybody's just a screen away.
That's right. Yeah. So we'll put your notes in there and people can reach out to you via email or your website, which has a great form on it, intake form with questions.
So I'll support that because you actually had Leanne do a test for you because you wanted some data to figure out what was going on.
Right.
And you didn't have to be there because I remember her doing the test at the apartment, our apartment, and then you sent it off.
Yeah.
And then it was processed and you got the data from the results.
Right. That was the Dutch test.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So again, you don't necessarily need to be there.
No, because those tests can be sent to any place in the world.
Yeah. So you can actually find a screen, get in touch with Dr. May and actually get some help.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And I vouch for her work. I think she does remarkable stuff.
Well, thank you.
So thank you so much for being here and sharing your functional medicine with us and your knowledge and experience and hopefully shedding some light on to the path for our divorcees out there.
Or anyone under stress.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anybody listening.
Everybody can be better. You just need to put your mind to it.
That's right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.